Did you know that human trafficking is a form of modern-day slavery that's happening in every state, including Michigan? What's being done to stop this, and what can we do about it? Let's talk about it.
Welcome to My Healthy Mind. I'm Michael Hunter.
And I'm Elizabeth Atkins.
Every week on My Healthy Mind, we invite guests to talk about mental health and other topics that people are often reluctant to talk about in public. Our guests include mental health advocates and experts in the field, along with people who have triumphed over difficult issues. Today, we're talking about human trafficking. Our first guest is an expert on the topic, and he'll help us understand what human trafficking is, how it's happening around us, and what we can do to help eradicate it.
Then we'll talk with a woman who shares her inspiring story about how she survived sex trafficking and is now working to raise awareness and stop this terrible problem.
Human trafficking is so prevalent in Michigan that Governor Rick Snyder appointed a special task force to find the perpetrators and save the victims in Michigan. That's why you won't want to miss today's show. To learn the signs that human trafficking could be happening around you and what you can do about it. Please stay tuned. What you learn on today's show could save someone's life. We'll be right back.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. You can be a part of the solution. Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks, which provides meals to people in need every year. Together we can solve hunger. Together we're feeding America.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it?
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got? Or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, baby.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Stress, depression, and severe mental illness can happen to anyone. Team Mental Health Services has been helping those struggling with these conditions in southeastern Michigan. Within 24 hours of reaching out to our team, members receive psychiatric evaluations and begin the necessary treatment for recovery.
Towards the 6th court date, I finally stood up and said, I can handle this process the rest of the way. And it was all because of the motivation and encouragement I got from Team Mental Health staff.
Team Mental Health Services, because we care and you can.
Welcome back to My Healthy Mind. Today we have with us David Manville, a lecturer in the School of Social Work at Eastern Michigan University. David, welcome to My Healthy Mind.
Thank you for having me.
Can we start by defining the term human trafficking, and can you tell us who's most at risk?
Sure. Human trafficking is basically an umbrella term that encompasses the exploitation of people. It's broken down into two major areas, labor trafficking and what most people refer to as sex trafficking, but I refuse to use that word, so I entitled it rape trafficking instead. But the rape trafficking is also split into two categories. You got the situation involving adults, and then you have the trafficking of minors. And there's two separate laws that encompass both of those parties, so we have to differentiate them. The people that are vulnerable to them, pretty much anybody is. You can be exploited, you can be manipulated. Probably one of the biggest groups is kids that have been in foster care situations. 80% of the kids that are being trafficked under the age of 18 have been in some way, shape, or form been involved with the child welfare system. The other big group of kids that are easily exploited are the LGBT kids. They're looking for someone to take care of them, someone to love them, someone to offer them something that they don't have in their other life.
And when it comes to trafficking, is there more prevalence in rape trafficking than labor trafficking?
No, there's a vast difference in it. Labor trafficking around the world encompasses probably 3/4 of all the trafficking that happens. In the state of Michigan, for every 1 case of rape trafficking that we have between 6 and 8 cases of labor trafficking.
So with rape trafficking, as you call it, there are 2 types of traffickers, correct?
There's what a lot of people consider to be the guerrilla trafficker. And basically what that means is that this person uses force and violence all the time. In fact, the whole thing of trafficking, labor, and rape trafficking is there's a component of violence. If she doesn't bring back the quota that the trafficker puts on her, she's physically, sexually abused, psychologically abused, threats of harm to self, threats of harm to their family. Then on the other side, what you've got is the finesse trafficker. That takes time to build a relationship with this person and then manipulate them into doing the trafficking. These traffickers are really good. They could go into a mall or to a place where young people hang out, for example, and they can pretty much pinpoint within 10 minutes of which girl is in need of something. The girls with the good self-esteem, that have a positive image of themselves, they're just going to look away and just shake their head. But the other girl might be, oh my God, this person's paying attention to me. And then they might meet up in the mall, exchange numbers. It's a grooming process.
So what makes Michigan such a draw for this kind of thing?
Michigan is just one of 50 states. It happens in every state in this country. We're not at the top of where trafficking occurs, but it's the same thing from any place in the world or in the United States. There's a demand. That's the bottom line that people don't understand. You have to have a demand to have this happen. This has not got anything to do with sex. This has to do with power and control. If I buy you, I own you.
David, victims of trafficking often don't see themselves as victims or report themselves as having been victimized by a crime. So why is that?
There's 2 reasons. One of it is that there's a huge stigma. If you've been prostituted, how are you going to come up and tell somebody that this has happened to you? And that's one issue. The other issue is that even though this trafficker is violent towards them, is mean to them, they consider this person to be a boyfriend. This person provides them with a home, with clothing, with food, with a sense of protection so that they don't get hurt. And that's a weird concept there, but they're being protected so that they're not being hurt by somebody else out on the street. They give them attention. They'll buy them that special dress.
And is there any training or avenues for the average person to recognize when we suspect that somebody is being trafficked?
There's lots of people that do training regarding human trafficking. But the 2 most prevalent, I think, in the state is the Michigan Abolition Project, which is run by Kathy Maitland. Then the second one is we have a Michigan Human Trafficking Task Force based out of Lansing, out of MSU. Jane White is the executive director. One of the areas we'd like to do is to train the bus drivers. Bus drivers are the eyes and ears of the community. Nobody looks for a second time at a bus that comes through their neighborhood because it's expected. And the bus drivers know their community. They know their route. So train our bus drivers on what to look for. Normal, everyday people, we need to be aware of it. The hotel people, your cable guys, your plumbers that go out to all these houses. If you see something suspicious, call. Call the 888-3737-888 number. That's a national hotline number for trafficking. You don't have to identify who you are. And one last point on that. You never want to try to intervene yourself. This is a dangerous situation. These people are making money off these women, off these girls. You try to step in and interfere with the business is likelihood that you can get hurt. So you never step up and try to do something on your own.
David, briefly, the FBI is policing the internet. There's 50,000 websites where people are being lured. And can you tell us a little bit more about how we can protect ourselves and our children online, just briefly, please?
Okay. The new report that just came out from the FBI CIA is that there's over 700,000 predators looking in 4,000 different social media sites and chat rooms on a daily basis to try to have contact with people, especially underage people. Almost 75% of all the initial sexual contact that occurs with adolescents that get involved with trafficking comes from the internet. Parents have got to be vigilant.
David, thank you so much for helping our viewers understand what human trafficking is and how dangerous it is.
You're welcome.
After the break, we'll meet a woman who was trafficked for sex and is now speaking out to raise awareness and inspire other survivors to seek help and heal. We'll be right back. Welcome to My Healthy Mind, a show that dares to talk about mental health, addiction, abuse, domestic violence, depression. Have these challenges affected you? Watch My Healthy Mind every Sunday at noon on TV 20. Let's talk about it.
When you're out there, there's no telling what you'll find.
I see it! I see it! Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to My Healthy Mind. We're talking about sex trafficking, and we're going to speak with Rita, a very inspiring woman who survived it. Rita, welcome to My Healthy Mind.
Thank you.
You only recently realized that you were a victim of sex trafficking. You call yourself a survivor, which you are.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how you can only recently realize that?
Well, I went to a conference in Plymouth because I wanted to go back to school for social work, and they started talking about the signs and things that happen. And I about got sick that day in Plymouth because I'm like, oh my gosh, I was trafficked by my dad in my own home. And it just floored me. Like, I knew there was something weird about my family, but I didn't know it was that weird. And now that I can put a name into it, I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm happy, but now I'm like, okay, what I lived was not normal, and there's a lot of people still living it today, and I know there's a lot of people that are walking around wounded that need healing, so I share my story so we can all heal.
So can you just tell us briefly what did happen to you as a child?
Well, the first incident I remember when I was 3, and it was my dad, and I had this sick feeling inside at 3 or 4 thinking, what's this, what's happening? And then I don't remember what happened after that, but I do recall men coming into my room at night, and I remember hiding under my bed, trying to get away from the men. I remember putting furniture in front of my door. I remember putting Legos on the floor to try to warn myself that they were coming, and I didn't sleep well. I didn't sleep well for a long time.
How long do you think it went on?
Well, the first incident was 3 or 4, and it stopped at the final sacrifice around 13-ish, but then one of my dad's men from a secret society's son assaulted me numerous times.
What do you mean sacrifice?
Oh, my dad was in a secret society, and there was a boy and I that were a sexual sacrifice on an altar. And we didn't have a choice. They made us drink stuff, and I remember trying to walk across the room, and my legs felt like Jell-O, and I couldn't run. Whatever this drug they gave us was very, we were there, but we weren't there. And I'll never forget just the people and being held down and being raped. It was awful. I'm still learning how to cope with that, and that was years ago, and so.
So there was no one to help you, your mother, the police, Child Protective Services?
As 1st or 2nd grade, I went to a teacher, and I tried to tell her what was happening. And I remember being sent to the principal's office like I was in trouble. And when my dad came in, he told the teacher and the principal that I was a great storyteller and that I did all this for attention. Trust me, the kind of attention my dad gave me is not the kind anybody would want. The abuse was horrific after that. My dad put me in a pump house. He grabbed me by the arm when I got off the bus and walked me to the pump house, no dinner, no nothing, and put me down in there, and there were spiders down there, and I don't know what else was down there, but he took the ladder away, turned off the light. That fear of being in a dark place, he used my fear against me. He knew that one thing that scared me. And Protective Services never got involved, but I'm pretty sure it's because there were so many upstanding citizens involved in this group.
So in the midst of those terrible things happening to you, what did you tell yourself to survive mentally?
Well, I was a strong-willed child, so I guess I always told myself, you know, you will not win, and I learned to shut my feelings completely off, and I had no emotion when the men did what they did. I just put myself out on Lake Michigan, or I put myself someplace pretty and beautiful, and I tried to like put my mind elsewhere because I just didn't know how to deal with what was happening to me.
Is your dad still living?
No, no.
And when you were going through your darkest moment, what did you do to still survive and remain strong with any glimmer of hope?
Well, I remember, I think the worst time was the final sacrifice. And I remember trying to reach my hand out to that boy when we were up on the altar. For some reason, we both felt we were both safe for each other, as wacky and weird as it was. And I just sang in my head. I sang a lot of hymns in my head because I felt safe in church. I felt safe with music. And I would put my mind on the scripture or the words, the music, to just try to not think about everything.
Mm-hmm. But even today, Rita, you say you compare yourself to a frozen rose. When you are reminded on a daily basis by sounds such as a ticking clock or change jingling in someone's pocket, or the smell of a certain cologne, those things break open the wounds of the memories. So how do you cope on a daily basis when you have these triggers?
The thing that I need is sunshine. For some reason, the sun helps me, I think. When I go for walks, talking to someone, giving myself time to journal, giving myself time to listen to music, that's how I really stay with it and happy.
We'll get to talk more about how you heal in the next segment.
Thank you.
Please stay with us. Welcome to My Healthy Mind, a show that dares to talk about mental health matters that touch nearly every family, yet many find difficult to talk about. Addiction, abuse, domestic violence, depression, alcoholism, suicide. Have these challenges affected you? Each week you'll meet guests who share their stories, hear from local experts, and learn about resources that may help. Watch My Healthy Mind every Sunday at noon on TV 20. Let's talk about it.
Stress, depression, and severe mental illness can happen to anyone. Team Mental Health Services has been helping those struggling with these conditions in southeastern Michigan. Within 24 hours of reaching out to our team, members receive psychiatric evaluations and begin the necessary treatment for recovery.
Towards the 6th court date, I finally stood up and said, I can handle this process the rest of the way. And it was all because of the motivation and encouragement I got from Team Mental Health staff.
Team Mental Health Services, because we care and you can.
Welcome back to My Healthy Mind. We're talking with Rita, who survived sex trafficking or rape trafficking, and David Manville, an expert who's working to raise awareness to stop this terrible problem. First, Rita, can you tell us how you're healing and what do you do to cope and find peace today with your ordeal in your rearview mirror?
I found talking to friends and going to some church groups, Celebrate Recovery, that really helps work on talking to people and sharing our pain and past struggles. And honestly, going to school, educating myself, my teachers, my instructors. He's going to be my instructor this fall. I'm totally geeked that I can finally have my dream of going to school. I think being able to do my dream is helping me heal, and keeping myself safe is helping me heal.
It's awesome that you have that. But David, what are some of the long-term obstacles that survivors of human trafficking face when they're trying to rebuild their lives?
Well, I think a couple things Rita's already mentioned. It's that triggering, it's getting past things that have happened to them. It's that non-trust of males. Most of us men are not bad people. Okay, this is just a small segment that have hurt these women and these girls. Most of us are good guys. But it's that trust issue and getting to that point of trusting whoever's going to be in their life. It's the PTSD, the post-traumatic stress that a lot of these women face. It triggers so many things. Survivors that I've had discussions with, for example, if they hear the sound of a train whistle, it just sends them into a panic mode. Or like Rita mentioned, aftershave or whatever it is. It's these things that trigger them, and these are long-term effects. These affect their ability to talk to people. These are things that people have got to work through. That, again, that trust is so important.
But as they're healing and getting better and better, when we talk about recovery in the sense of addictions, we talk about a higher power. Did that play a part for you, and is that something that you see prevalent in helping other survivors?
Well, my faith is totally what got me through. My faith in God and believing in my like I said, the hymns from earlier, I would just sing in my head because I didn't know what else to do when the abuse was happening and things were going on. I would sing in my head. So my faith of being at church is my calm, happy place. Nothing bad has ever happened to me at church. And nothing bad has ever happened at Lake Michigan, so I find it very healing. I'll drive 4 hours just to go to Lake Michigan, put my toes in the sand. It might be 20 degrees, but I climbed an ice cliff last month, and it was beautiful and peaceful and just like, oh, this is awesome. So there is healing, but you have to keep working at it. It's not a, woo, I'm healed now. If it took 20 years to abuse you, it's going to take another 30 to unravel it all, and I have triggers, and I'm working on those.
Wow. What's really amazing about you, Rita, is you're not just surviving, you're thriving.
Mm-hmm.
You earned an associate's degree in special education, and now you're working toward a degree in social work.
Yeah.
So tell us how following your dreams, getting your education, planning your career is helping you heal as well and prepare for a great future.
Well, I'm just excited because as I've taken some of these classes over, I mean, I took them 20 years ago, but now that I can apply like, oh my gosh, that happened to me. Okay, that happened. Now let's move on. Now that I'm beginning to see those things, I'm like, oh, okay, now I know why I'm kind of quirky sometimes. And some of my friends just laugh it off and it's no big deal. So that's very healing. And I love to learn. So I really feel that my story can help other women and men heal so they can say, you know what, this was a crappy place in my life, but I'm going to take that crap and turn it into something good. And
Rita, as you face a brighter future with your past in your rearview mirror, what are your hopes for yourself?
Well, my ultimate dream is to open a safe place where people can heal that have been trafficked or abused, sexually abused. I wanted to have an art room, and I wanted to have like a music room and like a photography room, and that's my dream. And I keep focusing on that, and maybe it'll happen. If I have the right people come alongside me, we could make it happen. So I want to keep helping others heal, and I want to keep healing as well.
David, what has to happen in society to eradicate human trafficking altogether?
We've been doing a lot of good things, and we're on a real good progress. We need to focus on a few things. We need to have people inform their legislators that other laws need to be passed, that funding needs to be supplied for services. That's only one part of it, though. We also need to have awareness events so that we can go into schools, that we can talk to the public. We need to have the avenues to have young people become aware of what human trafficking is, what happens, how it happens, what are the vulnerabilities of it. The more awareness there is that we can bring it out of that darkness and hit the sunshine that is so well needed, we will fight it. And someday hopefully get rid of it all.
David and Rita, thank you so much for helping us all understand human trafficking and sharing your stories that have informed us and taught us what we can do as citizens to alert the authorities if we see anything.
You're welcome.
We'll be right back.
Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked, thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
Welcome to Understood.org, a free online resource for parents of kids with learning and attention issues, with personalized recommendations, tools, and daily access to experts to help your child thrive. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Welcome back. We hope today's show gave you a better understanding of human trafficking and how you can report suspicious activity if you see it. We want to thank David Manville for sharing his expertise.
And a special thank you to Rita for sharing her story to shatter the stigma for victims of rape trafficking and to raise awareness about it.
Let's talk about it, Michael. What was your favorite part of the show?
I was really moved today when David was describing how the perpetrators go after their victims, how they look for typically girls that are vulnerable or appear to be vulnerable or appear to have some trouble in their life, and they reach out to them like they're trying to befriend them, as opposed to the guerrilla thing, because it's easy for us to teach our kids to run from monsters. And having daughters, I don't want them to be emotional about something and then have some predator reach out to them on Facebook or some other social media. And I think that that awareness is very valuable for us to hear it, and that it could happen right in our very backyard.
Absolutely, yes.
And what about you?
Michael, I'm awed by the courage and resilience that Rita showed today by sharing her story of being victimized by not only a lot of strangers, but also her very father. And for her to find the courage and strength within to go ahead and lead a normal life, to get help, she's just a tremendous inspiration. And by speaking out, sharing her story, and putting a face on this huge, terrible problem, it can inspire other people who've been through it to get the help that they need and know that it's okay, that they can heal, that they'll be believed, and that they can inspire other people to feel better as well.
Absolutely. I want to say this too, believing them.
Yes.
If someone reports this to you, please believe them. And if it isn't true, we'll err on the side of caution. That would be my recommendation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Fortunately, things have changed a lot since she talked to her teacher. Before we close today, we want to remind you that no topics about mental health and wellness are off limits on our show. What do you want us to talk about? Contact us and let us know. Be sure to visit us on Facebook or Twitter and email us at our website, myhealthymind.com. There you'll also find helpful resources, including those mentioned on today's show. When you contact us, rest assured that we keep your information private. We can't wait to hear from you. Thank you again for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.